6 years ago, there was a news item that fascinated viewing audiences around the world. It was a story of a Scottish woman named Susan Boyle. And you remember Susan Boyle? Susan sang on the television show Britain's Got Talent. And in 1 week, she went from being a member of the local church choir to being a worldwide singing sensation. There are several video clips of her performance that are still on YouTube. And I checked this week, and if you add them all together, they've been viewed over 200 million times. One reason that number is so high could be because there's people like me who go back again and again when I need inspiration and listen. How many of you have actually seen the video, Susan Boyle video? You, okay, good. So in the video, she sings I Dreamed a Dream. It's from the musical Les Mis. And her voice is quite stunning. It's worth watching the video just to hear her sing. But what I really want to talk about is the reaction that she got from the audience, and in particular, the judges during that first edition. Before she started to sing, it was obvious that no one expected her to do well. There were little snickers from the audience, and the judges were even making faces because of the way she looked and her awkwardness on the stage. But when she started singing, hello to the mic. Are we back? Thank you. Okay. So there were stickers from the crowd. The judges were making faces. But then she started singing. And the reaction that she got was priceless. The judges, especially Simon Cowell, remember Simon Cowell from American Idol? Yeah. He sat there with his face in his hands, kind of like this, and just beamed at her, just smiled and beamed at her throughout the whole performance. The other judges were equally impressed and surprised that their expressions were the perfect example of joy and disbelief. Joy and disbelief. It's the same response that the disciples had when they saw Jesus appearing in their midst. The story in the Gospel of John that was just read for us tells us that the disciples were in a house with locked doors. And the doors were locked because they feared for their lives. They knew that Jesus was dead, and they were afraid that the Jewish authorities were going to come for them too. And then, all of a sudden, there he was, standing among them. Obviously, at first they didn't believe that it was him, and the story tells us that they had to check his hands and his side to truly believe, and then they rejoiced. They felt both joy and disbelief. Joy because Jesus was there, and disbelief because he was supposed to be dead. And the story goes on to tell us that Thomas wasn't there at that time, and so when the other disciples told them the story, he didn't believe them. He said, in order for me to believe, I actually have to see it for myself. It is something that's hard to believe. And to be honest, the resurrection of Jesus' body is not crucial to my own understanding of the Easter story. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I don't know whether it happened or not, but for me, the understanding of a more spiritual or metaphorical kind of rising is sufficient. And the joy that I feel at Easter isn't based on the idea that Jesus spent a few extra days on earth. Because my Easter understanding is that Jesus is with us still because his Spirit lives on. Jesus is with us still because his story has been told over and over again, and we encounter the risen Christ, the living Christ, in ourselves and in others and in experiences that we have in the world. We carry Jesus in our hearts, and we meet Jesus in the hearts of others. But even as I say this, I know that the unbelievable is possible. Because according to the story in the Gospel of John, seeing the risen Jesus made Thomas a believer, and similarly hearing Susan Boyle made people around the world believe in impossible dreams. The unbelievable can happen. People are miraculously cured, and families survive horrific accidents, and cruel empires do fall. Joy and disbelief often do go together. I did a Google search on the phrase "joy and disbelief" to see what would come up. So I found these three stories, and others, but this one is in 2014, last year, on the 50th anniversary of the destruction of the Berlin Wall. Is it 50 years ago? That doesn't sound right. Anyways, it was an anniversary of the destruction of the Berlin Wall. People remember that as it fell, they watched with a mixture of joy and disbelief. They watched with a mixture of joy and disbelief. A little closer to home, last December, when the Edmonton Oilers ended an 11-game losing streak with a win against the San Jose Sharks, Twitter erupted with joy and disbelief. And from May of 2012, titles in the Los Angeles Times, "Joy and Disbelief Greet Obama's Support of Same-Sex Marriage." Those events didn't just happen. They were possible because someone believed. In today's reading from John, Jesus says, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." None of us are ever going to see Jesus in the flesh. He's not the historical Jesus. But we all have the opportunity to meet the living Christ every day. As we meet Christ in other people, we meet Christ in our prayers and in our dreams. We experience the healing power of Jesus Christ in our lives. So even though we cannot touch Jesus, we know that his Spirit is alive. Christ is with us, and so we rejoice. We rejoice in the joke that God played on the evil powers. We rejoice in the many unexpected ways that the living Spirit has entered our lives. We rejoice as churches did in the Middle Ages with laughter and with song. Before I end today, I just want to share one joke. I'm not really great at telling jokes, so here it goes. An elderly minister was searching his closet for his collar before church one Sunday morning. And in the back of the closet, he found a small box. And in that small box, he found 3 eggs and 100 $1 bills. Obviously, it's an old story. He called his wife into the closet to ask her about the box and its contents. Embarrassed, she admitted having hidden the box for their entire 25 years of marriage. Well, disappointed and hurt, the minister asked her, why? Well, the wife replied that she hadn't wanted to hurt his feelings, and well, he asked her how the box could hurt his feelings, and she said that every time during their marriage, when he delivered a poor sermon, she would place an egg in the box. Well, the pastor felt, well, 3 poor sermons in 25 years, that's certainly not too bad. And so he asked her what the $100 was for. And she said, each time I got a dozen eggs, I sold them to the neighbors for $1. I'm going to do that, thank goodness. Anyways, the choir is now going to follow with the spirit of the day as they sing their anthem.